Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our webinar for today. And today we're going to talk to you about solving 5 major issues with your website using DotNetNuke Professional Edition. So before we get started, there are just a few housekeeping items we need to take care of. So the first is, I need to know if everyone can hear me okay. If you can hear me, please raise your hand in the GoToWebinar. And it should be a button there by your user info. Let's see, got a couple people. Looks like we have Stephanie. Looks like we have some issues in with some of the people. So.
Sure. Let me just address that really quick. 1 second. Actually, I think you're good to go, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So next item is, can everyone see my slides okay? If you can, go ahead and raise your hand again. Okay. Good. The next item. So we're going to be going over a lot of stuff today, and there's a lot of information. We're going to be looking at the website and actually stepping through a number of demos. If you have a question at any time, be sure to use the Ask a Question feature in the GoToWebinar, and go ahead and ask your question at any time. I probably won't answer any questions in the middle of the webinar, and we'll save all of those for the end. But go ahead and queue those up, and that way we'll have a bunch to answer at the end. Any we don't get to during the webinar, we'll answer after the webinar over the course of the afternoon or tomorrow. Or actually, probably on Friday, because tomorrow's Thanksgiving for those of us here in the United States. So some of us will be out celebrating. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So organizations are under a lot of pressure today to deliver. Marketing teams are struggling to keep up with the constant change that's going on within the marketplace. Organizations are growing, their competitors are fast, there's cost issues, there's complexity, and there's just a lot of content that they have to deal with and manage on a day-to-day basis. And what organizations are looking for are tools that are going to help them solve these problems. And that's where DotNetNuke Professional comes in. It's our mission today to really help organizations be agile with their web environment. Using DotNetNuke, you can roll out award-winning websites in a matter of days or weeks, depending on the complexity of the website, instead of the traditional months or years that some sites used to take in order to get up and running. We have a lot of great customers, and I'm amazed every day, when I hear the customer feedback about what they were able to accomplish in just a short amount of time using DotNetNuke and the tools that we provide. We have to realize that that your website is one of your most important business assets in your organization. We see this pretty much every day. When we talk to an organization, someone immediately does a search and pulls up, the website for that organization. You can see how ingrained that website has become as sort of the public face of that organization, and as such, organizations are under a lot of pressure to make sure that the public face of their company or their organization presents well. We've made it our mission at DotNetNuke Corp to enable you to have a flexible web presence where you worry about your content, not about how the system can adapt or change to meet your changing environment. We worry about exposing the latest technologies for you to use seamlessly in your website strategy. As you can see here, there are a lot of different pieces that plug into DotNetNuke, but DotNetNuke really is that central hub no matter what you're doing with your website. And we have a lot of different types of plugins that enable all of this various functionality. So the first problem I want to talk about today, or rather the first solution I want to talk about, is security. DotNetNuke is really perfect at solving a lot of the challenging needs that you have on your website. We're going to look at 5 different problems today, the first of which is going to be around security, and show you how you can get those problems solved with DotNetNuke Professional Edition. So let's dive in a little bit on security, since it is one of the biggest challenges facing websites today. How do you, as a website owner, let the good guys in while keeping the bad guys out? How do you allow people to edit your content and to update content on your website without also giving that same capability to anyone else on the web who happens to come along? At DotNetNuke, we have a long history of providing really great security, so much so that the United States Department of Defense is currently migrating their public-facing websites to the DotNetNuke platform. You can check out some of their work at www.marines.mil, and what you'll find there is just one of many websites that the DoD runs that's currently running on the DotNetNuke platform, and there's going to be more and more of these rollouts coming over the next year. In addition to providing a secure web platform, DotNetNuke Professional Edition allows you to get very granular with the permissions that you apply to your website. These allow you complete control over who has access to content, who can change content, who can even view content, whether that content is a complete page or whether it's just one part of the page itself. Unlike some of the other platforms that are out there, we go all the way down at a very granular level to allow you to control exactly what your users see and what they can do on your website. So let's go ahead and jump in and dive into an example here and take a look at how granular permissions work within DotNetNuke Professional Edition. So here I have a brand new DotNetNuke 7 website, and this is an example of a company called Awesome Cycles, and this is just a sample company that comes with the DotNetNuke 6, DotNetNuke 7 platform. And what I want to do is take a second and let's just run around the website to see what kind of information is here. Just some basic background information on the company, maybe some fun pics of the people in the company, a little bit of information about their services and how you can contact the company. Pretty standard website stuff. But if you notice, as we move around the pages, there really is no way to interact with any of this. There's no editing functionality, none of that's enabled until I actually come into the website and log on as a privileged user. In this case, I'm going to log on as using an account called host, which is really our super admin or our domain administrator, if you will, that's going to be able to manage all of the websites within my DotNetNuke installation. So this is the most privileged account that we have within DotNetNuke. And we've got a few things that happen here now that we're logged in with a privileged account. The first thing is, notice up at the top that I've got what we call our control panel that gives us some quick access to managing and administrating our DotNetNuke website. And a slight change, if you've been familiar with previous versions of DotNetNuke, by default we're going to navigate around the website in sort of this view mode where the only administrative features are shown up here in our control panel. If you're using DotNetNuke 6, you would see some additional administrative UI that shows up throughout the page, allowing you to edit your modules and edit the various content on the page. And we've sort of streamlined that in 7 so that it makes it nicer when you're navigating around the site to just view the site as your users would. So in this case, that's nice. Notice now I've got this additional page that shows up under About Us, this thing called User Documentation. So I'm going to go here really quick because maybe I want that user documentation. I want to expose that to more than just my administrative users. I want to expose this so that anybody visiting the site can get access to user documentation. So I'm going to go to the page. I'm going to go ahead and edit this page, and I'm specifically going to edit the page and go to the page settings for the page because I want to look at the permissions that we've set up And as you can see, the only people who have permissions to do anything on this page are administrators. And what I want to do is go ahead and allow my users to go ahead and view this page. And maybe I want to allow some page editors to start changing content, maybe deleting some information on the page, and we'll give them a little bit of control. And then we'll give maybe the manager, we'll give them full control so they can do everything that's possible on that page. And this is just one example of the granular permissions. Typically, if you were in a .NET Community Edition site, your only options would be either view or edit. All of these other permissions that you see here are permissions that we've added in the Professional Edition. And one of the great things about this granular control is it's not just the core framework that can add additional permissions. You can also have modules which add additional permissions as well. And we may see that as we go on in the demo today if we've got some time. So let me go ahead and update this page. And now if I go ahead and log out, so let's go back to the home page and log out here. And now if I come back to this About Us, notice now I can actually navigate down. Even as an anonymous user, I've suddenly exposed this page to those users. And now even as an anonymous user, I can come to the page, I can see the documentation. This is just one example of the kind of flexibility and power that the permission structure has. But one of the things I want to be able to do is maybe I want to log in as maybe that content editor and sort of see what type of permissions we're going to get there. So I'm going to log in as this guy named Will Stroll. Happens to be a engineer here at .NET Corp. And so we're going to go ahead and log in as Will. Will's going to get a little bit of additional permissions. Notice he's got a control panel, but it doesn't have all the same permissions that my administrator has. But it does allow Will to come in and edit the page, and which would allow him to modify the modules if those modules gave him that permission. Let's go ahead and look at some of the settings, because not only can you set permissions at the page level that allows someone to come in, but because I've given Will this level of control, he can also go down to the individual modules and say, hey, you know what, I really don't care who you are, I want to give everyone view permissions, and editors and managers, we're going to give them full control over this module. Or you know, we could deny permissions as well. So you can grant permissions, you can take permissions away. All of those are possible using the granular permissions. Or we can just go ahead and inherit the view permissions from the page while still giving me the ability to manage the various edit permissions in that module. So I'm just going to leave things the way they were from the page. We'll go ahead and update this just so it stays the same. And so what this does is this really gives you a lot of control over how things are displayed. Maybe I want to make some content so that it's only displayed to people who are logged in. I'll come in here into settings. I'll come down here to, I'll turn off the all users because I don't want all users to see this. Maybe I only want registered users to be able to see this particular content, meaning that you would have to log in before you would be able to view the documents that are available. So we'll go ahead and update that. And then we'll go ahead and log back out just so we can see what a regular user would see. So in this case, now I've got my user docs are here. If I go ahead and log in with any user, this time I'll use someone, I'll have Naveen Nagia, our CEO, comes in and logs in. And he's just a regular user. Naveen relies on other people to manage the website. So we go ahead and log in, and now we can see that Naveen has access to the site, but notice he's not an administrator. He doesn't have any super privileges in the website. He's just a normal user that happens to have an account on our site. So in this case, you can see that we can get really granular about how much content, how little content, part of a page, all of a page. All of those are available to us through the granular permissions. So I'm going to log back out and come back in as our host administrator now. And let's jump back in. And that pretty much is most of what you can expect in granular permissions. We could talk for a long time about this, but we've got a lot of other things to cover. So let's go ahead and jump back into the slideshow. The next thing I want to talk about is content approval. So it's great that we can limit who gets access to what content, and it's nice that people could go in and edit content. But what you really want in a content management system is the ability to control how content appears on your site. And so in DotNetNuke Professional Edition, in our HTML module, which comprises 80 to 90% of all the content on a website, is just regular raw HTML. And what you want is the ability to set up different workflows so that as content is edited, you can see who's editing the content, what changes they've made. You can approve or reject that content, and then have that published to the website. And all of this can happen sort of in the background so that your end users who are visiting your website only see that final revision when it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and jump back into the website really quick, and maybe there's some edits that I need to do on this page. And one thing I noticed here was there's this reference to SharePoint that's on this document. And I'm going to want to edit that because really that should be Microsoft SharePoint, and SharePoint should be capitalized. And so let's go ahead and just make those changes here. The first thing I want to do, though, before we do that, is let's talk about workflow and what that really looks like in terms of the HTML module. So I'm going to go into settings because I want to set up the type of workflow for this module that I want to use. And so I go to my module settings in here. And let's go ahead and scroll down. And what we see is we've got this section on workflow. Now, out of the box, DotNetNuke Professional is going to allow me to do direct publishing, meaning there's no workflow. It's just going to go straight from being edited to being live on the website. And that's definitely not what we want. I've got this ability to save a draft, which means I can edit the document, and as the author, I could go through and I could publish the document or publish the content whenever I'm ready to. So it really gives me this very simple two-stage workflow. And I can start to get more granular in that, and I can go into this content approval, which basically requires an author to create content, and then some other group, some other role would have permissions to come into the site, review what those changes are, and go ahead and approve that for being published. And I can also go in to manage workflows, and I can create my own sort of workflows that would allow me to get even more granular than that. Maybe I want multi-level. But in this case, we're just going to go to our content workflow here. And one of the things I want to do is I want to say who it is that's going to be able to publish this item. And so what I want is to look at that ready for review, see who it is that's going to review it, and I'm going to say managers are going to be able to review my content, and that means they're going to be able to move it from the ready for review state into a published state. Okay, so you always think about if you want them to get it to the next state, you've got to back up one and give permissions there. So managers are going to be able to go ahead and move that into the final state in my workflow. So we'll go ahead and update everything, and let's go ahead and close that down, and I think we should be good to go here. And let's make sure we're actually using that before I get ahead of myself. So normally you would have all these workflows set up ahead of time, and then you would just go into the various modules and set which workflows you wanted to use. In this case, we're going to use that content approval workflow. And again, the only people who are going to be able to review it and move it into the published state are our managers. So we'll go ahead and update that. So now let me go ahead and log out. So we've got, and I want to log in as maybe an editor. So I'm going to log in as Will Stroll again. And Will's going to go ahead and edit this content for us. And Will's just going to make a really simple change. Where is that at? Enterprise Edition, right here. Microsoft, SharePoint, and maybe it's a real simple edit that he needs to do. And we'll go ahead and save that. And now that's ready to go. Looks fine to Will, so Will goes ahead and logs out. If I log in as someone who is a manager, so we're going to log in as Sean Walker, who is the manager for this page. And Sean now has the ability to come in and look at this content. Let's see, he should see. Oh, you know what? We didn't have Will publish this, so let's, I'm sorry, I skipped a step there. So Will just has it in draft mode yet. Will did not publish that content. So let's go ahead and publish that. And now save it. Add a little comment to what it is I changed. And then we can go ahead and let Sean approve this. And now notice Sean can either approve or reject this right away. But what I really want to do is I want to come in and I want to see what are those changes that Will Stroll made. Now, one of the improvements that we made in .NETNuke 7 was that you could come in here, you could look at the version tracking tab, and I can see Will Stroll made this change, and it's now ready for review. So what I want to do is I want to come in and maybe compare and see what were the changes that Will made. And this is an awesome new feature in .NETNuke 7. And I can see that Will maybe deleted the word SharePoint and added in Microsoft SharePoint. And so it really highlights and allows me to get right to where the changes are that I need to see. So as part of that workflow, this works really nice for allowing managers or page owners to go in and see what's changed and then go ahead and approve those changes. So I'm going to go ahead and approve that content. Notice I don't have to go all the way back out. I can just do it here on the page. We'll go ahead and save. Make a short note here. And go ahead and approve that. And now if I log back out, I will see all of those changes are now included in the document. So Microsoft SharePoint is exactly what it should be. Okay, so that's pretty much it for content approval. You can get more granular than that. You can drill down, create as many workflows as you want for different pages, give different groups or roles or people permissions to manage those contents. So depending on where you want people editing in your site, you have complete control over that. So let's go ahead and jump back in and take a look at the next item that we want to talk about today for really solving some of those challenges you're having around your websites. So it's not enough today that companies and organizations have websites that are attractive and viewable on the desktop. Today, organizations and their websites extend beyond just the desktop browser. DotNetNuke Professional Edition is providing you the tools that are necessary to build great-looking mobile websites that can leverage all of the great functionality in your traditional desktop DotNetNuke website. So a lot of the features that we provide out of the box, things like mobile redirection, mobile device detection, take advantage of responsive web design and adaptive rendering, and allow you to create either a dedicated mobile site or maybe you just want a microsite that's part of the main site. We support a lot of different ways that you can mobilize your website, and depending on what you or your customers' needs are, you need that flexibility. Some solutions in the market today will promote a completely standalone website. Some solutions will promote using microsites or just mobile enabled pages on your main website, and some of them just want to use some responsive design that just allows sort of the design to change as you view the site on different screens. And we support all of those. Today I'm primarily going to focus and show you how quick and easy you can create a completely dedicated mobile site using the features in DotNetNuke Professional Edition. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and log in again to our website as our host user. And once we're logged in, I'm going to go to my site management. As a host user, I have the ability to manage the various websites. So one of the great things about DotNetNuke is with a single install, you get this multi-site capability, the ability to have multiple websites all running within a single DotNetNuke installation, and it's a great feature. And you know, in DotNetNuke 7, or DotNetNuke 6, we added the ability to easily create mobile sites as one of those types of sites that you can create. So let's go ahead and just add a new website. And I'm going to call this a child site. And the difference between parent and child is really whether you need a whole new domain for the site that you're adding, or whether maybe it's part of an existing domain. So if I wanted a mobile site, I could call it m.awesomecycles.biz, which you'll see in some sites, or you can do something like a child site and just say, you know, awesomecycles.biz/mobile, right? So this is Awesome Cycles. And so we're going to create this mobile site. Now, DotNetNuke uses this concept of templates, site templates, to basically lay out a default website and to set the default skins and decide what pages to create and some of that. So I'm just going to use this mobile website template that comes out of the box for creating my new site, and that's going to create all my pages for me and set the default skins that I want for that mobile site. So we'll go ahead and create that site. Give it a second for it to spin everything up. So this is taking a little bit longer than normal. There we go. Looks like I haven't set up my SMTP server on this particular box, and that's okay. So we'll go ahead and cancel that out. We're fine here. Normally you would have SMTP set up, but you can see it still created my mobile site for me. So now I'm going to go in and let's just jump over to this Awesome Cycles mobile website here. And so it's spinning that up. And so it's a fairly simple site. We're going to get our initial welcome aboard screen since this is the first time seeing that site. We'll go ahead and close that down. I don't need to see that just now. And so what I have is I've got this, really sort of slimmed down site. There's not a lot going on. But when you think about it for mobile devices, you really don't want a lot of complexity in the graphics and the flash and some of that on the site, because all of that has to get downloaded to the mobile browser, and it all has to get rendered. And those devices just don't have the same horsepower, if you will, of a normal desktop or laptop does. So one of the nice things that we did in this particular template is we're using responsive design. So not only do we have a separate website, but we have a separate website that's going to respond to different devices and how their screen resolution works. So you can see here that as I shrink the window, my graphics are changing. Some of the layout is changing. Notice the menu up top will shrink to fit within the device size. So whether you're going from a tablet or down to a small cell phone, the mobile template that we're using and the mobile skin that we're using will accommodate that. So in this case, I've got my mobile site. It's only got a few pages on it. Notice that it does not have that document page on it that we had on the main site, and it has a few other pages as well, which is fine. So, in this case, maybe I don't want to make documents available to the local device. Maybe that doesn't make sense in this case. And I would go through. I've got all the same tools, all the same functionality of DotNetNuke. Notice my control panel is still up here. So even though it's a mobile site, it still has all the same rich functionality in terms of being able to edit content and use all of those same DotNetNuke Pro features that everyone loves so much. So now I have this mobile site and everything's awesome. It's ready to go. The problem is, nobody knows about my mobile site, right? Unless I advertise it somehow or tell people as they're coming to my web page how to get there. So maybe what I want to do is in my main site. So again, notice awesomecycles.biz. No /mobile on there, so this is my main desktop site. What I want to do is I want to go in and I want to set up some redirection rules. I want to set up some rules that says basically, depending on who you are or what type of device you're coming into my website with, I want to redirect you over to my mobile site. And maybe the only people that I'm going to redirect over to the mobile site is people with maybe a certain type of device. Maybe I'm only going to do certain types of phones because they don't render well the main content. Maybe my rich smartphones like iPhone, Android, Windows Phone. Maybe I'll let them see the main site because it won't be too bad for them. But maybe if I've got someone who's running a BlackBerry and they don't have the latest HTML5 capability, maybe what I want to do is redirect anyone on a BlackBerry coming to this site. I'm going to redirect them to my Awesome Cycles mobile site. I could get more granular. I could go page by page and determine where each page is going to redirect. But in this case, I'm going to take anyone coming into the site and just redirect them over to the Awesome Cycles. Now I could do any mobile phone, any tablets, both, or I could go in here to Advanced, and I can select what type of capability it is I'm interested in querying on. And in this case, I want to look and say, I want to find that OS. Let's come down here. Should be platform vendor. And I'm going to say if you're coming from a RIM device, which is all your BlackBerry devices, I'm just going to go ahead and redirect you over to that page. Okay? So if you're coming in on a RIM device, you're going to get redirected to the mobile site. And it really is just that easy. So in just a few seconds, I've created this new rule that said, if you're a BlackBerry user, redirect you over to my other site. And I can get more granular than that. I can set up a lot of different microsites. I can set up a site that's specific to iOS. I can set up a site that's specific to Android. I can set up one that only targets maybe those tablet users, regardless of what type of tablet they are. So there's a lot of flexibility here. Not only can I redirect them to other sites, but also notice that maybe if you're a iOS user, maybe I just want to say, hey, if you're coming to this site, maybe the first thing I want to do is I want to redirect you to a specific page within this site. And so I could actually choose and redirect people from one page to another page, because maybe I've got a specific mobilized version of the Getting Started page, or I've got a mobilized version of some other page that's more appropriate. And so I could even get down to that level and just do page-to-page redirects for people on my site. So there's a lot of flexibility here, definitely more than we can go into. We could do a whole webinar just on the mobile features themselves. But for solving some of those basic mobile website challenges that people have, I think this tool is really awesome and does a great job of allowing you to go through and do that. So one of the things that the other capability around mobile that you want is even when you have your mobile site. So let's say I've got my mobile site, it's all developed and everything is there, but I sort of want to see what this thing is going to look like for various mobile devices. So I can go into Edit Page in my control panel, and I can go into Mobile Preview. And so what this is going to do is it's going to bring up a screen that allows me to sort of select the different devices and see what that is going to look like for those various devices. So here I've got my BlackBerry Bold is listed, maybe my BlackBerry Curve, and this just gives me an idea for those various screen sizes as how that's going to react for or how that's going to be presented to those various users. So if we look, maybe I've got my iPad up here. We can see that the iPad, because it's a wider screen, and I can actually get the full menu on there. So maybe that's why, for an iPad, it makes more sense to go to the full site rather than the mobile site. But this allows you, gives you a really quick view of sort of what this site's going to look like at the various sizes that you might get with the various devices. And that pretty much rounds out all of the mobile features that are available today in DotNetNuke Professional Edition. So it's great that we have these mobile sites. Let me let my slides move here. But organizations might have websites for a lot of different reasons. You might have websites for each department, division or agency within your organization. Often you want a different appearance for each website. And using the multi-portal capability, I've shown you that you can build out multiple sites. We showed an example with a mobile website, but you could just as easily create as many different websites within your installation as you want, all for different parts of your organization. And each one of those sites can have its own permission structure so that it can have its own editors, its own managers, its own set of workflows, if you will. And all of that is great, but the one challenge you have, and one of the challenges that DotNetNuke Professional Edition solves, is the ability for you to share users from one site to another site, and to share even content in .NET 7 from one site to another site. So now each site is no longer a silo as it was in earlier versions of .NET 6 and prior. Now you can actually use what we call site groups to group together a bunch of websites, allow them to share a common user database, and also allow them to share some of the content so you don't have to recreate content across those various sites. So let's go ahead, take a few minutes and jump into site groups and see how that works. So let me jump back to my main website here. And let's go up, and I'm going to go into my site management function again. And now what I want to do is I want to create a site group. Let's go ahead and edit this page. Oops, I seem to have misplaced site management. Did I miss? Oh, there we go. Sorry. We move things around a little bit in .NET 7, still getting used to some of the new items. So let's go ahead and create a new site group. And we're going to call this our main group. And so I'm going to make the master site. So this is the site that has all of my users in it. So Will Stroll and Sean Walker and Naveen and all of those guys, I want them to have access to the mobile site as well. So all of those users were defined in my master site, and I want to just make all of those users available to my other site as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create that site group. Okay. Oops. I forgot to do the second step there. And we need to copy those users down, and we need to add some member sites there. So now I've got my my Awesome Cycles as a member, and I've copied my users, and all of these sites should have the same authentication domain, and we'll go ahead and update that site group. And it's important to note that as we're creating site groups, that we have to have a common domain across those site groups. In other words, you can't have one site at www.dotnetnuke.com and have another site at www.awesomecycles.com and expect the cookies to work across those two different sites in the site group. They need to share a common domain. So you could have awesomecycles.biz and mobile.awesomecycles.biz, and those could share cookies, but different domains cannot. So that's essentially how we create our site groups. It's changed a little bit between the 6.0 and the 7.0 interfaces, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward to walk through. There's not a lot of moving parts there for you to break. And so once those sites are created, now I should be able to go into my mobile site and log in there with, if I did everything correctly, I should be able to go into my mobile and I should be able to log in. Let me go ahead and log out here. This particular mobile skin didn't have a logout function. Am I probably mistyping this? There we go. It's log off. Sorry. one of the challenges of having used DotNetNuke for a long time is you don't always remember everything about the platform, and sometimes you get caught. So let's go ahead and log in on this site with, and I'm just using a shortcut here because I know what the login and log off functions are. So I want SB Walker to go ahead and log in if I type that password correctly. And so now SB Walker has access to this site. It's kind of hard to see because of this skin, but trust me, he's in there. If I log out and log in with administrator, we could go and look at the user group or look at the users. So let's jump back to my other site. And that's really all there is to site groups. We can go deeper and start sharing content across the sites, but in terms of setting up site groups and why they're valuable, really the number one reason comes down to being able to share users across those two sites, and also secondarily to be able to share content across those sites. And then we can still create even other sites which are not part of that site group, which don't share the same user base, and still have those as well within this one install. So let's jump back and take a look at the next item. So one of the things about organizations is that they generate and distribute hundreds and thousands of documents, fairly regularly. Managing those documents and making them available to customers can be a major challenge for a lot of organizations. DotNetNuke Professional Edition includes a built-in document management solution that is a really elegant solution to a very difficult problem. The DotNetNuke document management solution is great for organizations who have some modest document management needs. If you need to be able to do versioning on documents, you need to be able to do some minor approval workflows on documents. All of that's available within the DotNetNuke document management system that we have available in Professional Edition. The great thing is, even if you need, really super robust and you've got very complex workflow needs, and you've got very complex versioning requirements around your documents, and you need different things to happen, then you can take advantage of something like a Microsoft SharePoint and use the Enterprise Edition SharePoint connector to allow you to manage documents using SharePoint and still expose them through your DotNetNuke website. So we give you a couple of different document management solutions depending on the complexity of your document management needs. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the document management functions within DotNetNuke Professional Edition. So I'm going to go back over here to my user documentation page, and you'll see I've already got a user management or a document management module that's displayed on the page. And right now I'm Sean, so I'm going to just log back in as my host account because I want full management here. And so let's go ahead and edit that page so I can take a look at some of the settings for the module. So document management module uses the normal settings dialog just like most modules in DotNetNuke. And we add an additional tab here that allows us to control what the document management functions do. So you can see here I've got navigation, how my grid is displayed, some different things around file options, statistics. We're going to take a look at just a couple of the features. So one of the things is document management supports both a folder view and a category view. And this means I can either use the folder structure that's defined as part of the file system in DotNetNuke, or I can use categories to manage how my documents are displayed, which means that I could put, if I needed to, I can have a very flat folder structure, but create sort of a virtual structure using categories and using taxonomy essentially to categorize my documents with some metadata that allows us then to go in and move documents around within the system without ever actually physically moving those documents. So this is a very powerful capability. So we're going to start out in category mode. The other thing too is when you're setting up a document management library, you often don't want to show every file on the file system to your users. You often need to be able to restrict which documents a user can actually get to. So I could go in and say there's no restrictions in the document management system, or I could set maybe a subfolder and say, hey, they're only going to be able to see what's in this user docs folder. I don't want them to see every folder in the system. And I can do the same with categories. I could say they're only going to be able to see data sheets, or they're going to be able to see, any document in any category, and that's fine. And you can even, maybe hide that tree on the left so they just get a list of documents. They don't have any ability to navigate to the different directories. There's a lot of capability there. The other thing that I like about the module is the ability to set versioning on the documents, to integrate with the search capability that's in DotNetNuke Professional. All of those are some really great features with DotNetNuke, so you can get search not only against your HTML content, but also against the document content as well. So if you're using things like Word documents or PDFs, things like that, then you could actually have your search, the DotNetNuke search system in Professional Edition, go down and crawl those documents and provide search within those documents as well. So there are a lot of capabilities there that we could explore. Again, the document management module is pretty complex. There's a lot of things that it can do. It looks simplistic, but when you start getting into different permutations of what all these settings do, it can get very, very complicated very quickly. So we're not going to go over everything today. I just wanted to give you a little bit of taste of what the document management and some of the problems that it solves, and how you can use it to provide document capability on your own website. And so let's go ahead and close that edit mode. And so we can go ahead and navigate around now, and I can see the various documents that we've created in here. And even though I've got multiple documents, I've got one that's a data sheet and one that's a manual. So I've created sort of this tree structure here, even though the way they're stored in the file system is just as a very flat set of files. And notice also that I've got these cloud files down here, so maybe I'm doing some stuff in the cloud, and I've got these files here. Well, I could restrict this document management view to just showing categories, and since I haven't added any of those cloud files or folder to any categories, they would never show up to my users. So again, I've got some flexibility there about how I present things to the users in terms of using categories as sort of a filtering mechanism for those users. So it doesn't matter if you're an end user, a designer, developer, or business manager. DotNetNuke provides a lot of flexibility that should be able to meet the needs of any organization, all the way from the smallest mom-and-pop shop all the way through high-end enterprise-class organizations like the Department of Defense, who is literally rolling out hundreds of DotNetNuke websites. Very robust, very extensive capability. Certainly well within DotNetNuke's capability to manage. One of the things I hope you get from today's webinar is how fast it is, how easy it is to use, and really returns. There's a huge return on the minimal investment you would make in a .NET Professional Edition installation. .NET Corporation has a few services that are highly recommended. If you're going to purchase Professional Edition, you should definitely take a look at some of the advanced support that's available, whether it's the elite support giving you, telephone-based access, or whether it's just the developer support. If you've got, coding questions, or you've got questions about some really advanced scenarios that you want to be able to support, we can get you access to some of our engineers who can walk you through how to do various things with and some of those advanced scenarios with DotNetNuke. And also take advantage of the training opportunities. Chris Hammond, who is our Director of Training Programs here, has put together a lot of good webinars, on-site training, custom training. We have a lot of training information that's available. You just have to go to .netnuke.com and go down into the resources section, and you'll find all that information is available there. Finally, if you have any other questions, feel free to call our sales department at 650-288-3150, or you can just email them at sales@dnncorp.com, and they'd be glad to answer any questions you have and help show how you can take advantage of .NET Professional Edition to solve some of your website challenges. We're running a little short on time here this afternoon, so I'll answer a couple of questions, but I'll deal with the others after the session is over. If you have any additional questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in now, and we'll get them done as well. We do expect to have the webinar up in the next couple of days for those people who registered and weren't able to attend, or if you just want to go back and review some of the content, you'll be able to go online and see the webinar. And first question is, DNN submenus are not currently accessible when using a touch screen because of the lack of a hover in the touch scenario. And the question is, do you know when this functionality will be added to the default skin? And this comes from Jeff. And my answer to that is there's a couple of things. So out of the box, the menu that we provide is very flexible. So the default skin that we provide does not have to be the skin that you're going to use for your mobile sites. I do know that depending on the type of mobile browser you're using, so if it's iOS, sometimes you just have to hold your finger down on the button a little longer, and it'll actually, the hover event will trigger and you will get the drop down. I know I've actually done this myself in a lot of different places, and so the hover doesn't quite work the same way that you're used to with the mouse. You actually have to treat it a little bit different in the touch environment. I do think that we'll be looking at that more here in 2013. We've got a number of mobile enhancements we're looking at for the next year. And so that'll be one of them, is to make sure that we've got a really great touch experience. I know that there can be some challenges and that it's a little bit different than most people are used to, but we'll be looking at that as one of the items we look at in 2013. Next question is whether mobile sites and site group features are available in Community Edition. And right now, I don't know of any plans to have mobile site management or site groups within Community Edition. One of the things that we have to constantly do within DotNetNuke is to sort of balance what features we put in Community Edition, what features we put in Professional Edition, based on who our anticipated target users are for the various platforms. And so there's, like any software product, you often comes down to a decision as product manager as to who do you think gets the most value out of that feature. And so for that reason, these features were really targeted at a specific group when they were developed, and that's why they're in Professional Edition. We think Professional Edition, for the features that are there, provide a lot of value for the money. And I think these are a great example of the types of value that Professional Edition adds for not all that much cost. I had another question from, he has an ASP host and was going to use DotNetNuke, but switched to a Linux host and wants to know if they can still run DotNetNuke. And unfortunately, the answer today is no. DotNetNuke requires the Microsoft platform, so we require SQL Server, we require IIS, and obviously Windows in order to get IIS running, as well as ASP.NET. So those requirements are pretty hard and fast in the product today. That doesn't mean that we won't have Linux solutions in the future. We just don't have those available today. And the last question is responsive design available in the community version as well? So responsive design is really about the skin and really about the CSS that you're using with the skin. And as such, DotNetNuke Pro doesn't do anything specifically to take advantage of responsive design. That's really a function of the skin. In DotNetNuke Pro, we do add things like the mobile skin that has examples of using responsive design that show customers how to actually take advantage of that. But if you're a designer and you're familiar and comfortable with responsive design, there's no reason why you can't do that in Community Edition as well, and that's available today. So that's all the questions I have time to answer this afternoon. Thank you everyone for showing up, and we'll see you at the next webinar.